There is more to us than meets the eye. Just because you can't see it or touch it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Ravenne and Wadeson, a fourth-generation psychic seer, reader, and healer, is your guide to a glimpse through the veil that separates the seen from the unseen. If you can imagine it, we can talk about it. Join Ravenne and Rob Wadeson for the Supersensory Psychics, Wednesday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern on the Hazy Radio Network. www.hazyradio.com.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Hazy Radio Network, its affiliates, or sponsors. All shows are independently owned and broadcast for entertainment purposes only.
And we're live.
Hello, you are listening to Supersensory Psychics on the Hazy Radio Network. And I guess we ought to wish you all Happy Christmas.
Indeed.
I am here with Rob Wadeson. He's producing and
mixing and doing all the stuff.
We also have a special guest with us today. That is Grandpaw Peter Koyote. He's joining us from Colorado in the mountains. Crestone, I believe that is. Is that right, Grandpa?
Yeah, that's the name, Crestone. You bet.
Yep.
Good place to be in.
Okay. Colorado, near Boulder. One of my favourite films is The Stand by Stephen King. And I've watched it. It's a very long film, and you have to sit down and watch it all. But beautiful area. I do find, even though it's remote, I do think it's quite a special place. I'm going to put it like that. A special place.
Oh, it is. And Crestone here is a very special place, too. But, Boulder, in the mountains above there, Stephen King had a house. That's where he wrote that book, The Stand, was there above Boulder, up Sunshine Canyon there. He had a house.
Excellent.
Cool. That's why Boulder probably plays such a preeminent role in that work. You know?
Well, go with what you know, yeah.
I've never watched them.
It's a good film.
I've never watched that movie.
No, yeah. It's an ultimate good and evil, and good wins. So there you go. And I've just ruined the film for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, it's very compelling movie. I mean, very compelling book. I imagine the movie would be quite intense.
It was one of those books to movies that actually went quite well. A lot of the Stephen King ones, initially, you watch the film and you think, well, where's the book? But this one was definitely. I think he had some finger in the pie of producing it, and learnt by past mistakes, I'd say, and actually got it right on this one.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, man. You know, I love to see truth in cinema. You know, when good works can find their way accurately onto the screen. You know what I mean? Instead of totally changing the whole story, etc. You know?
Yes, sometimes Hollywood gets hold of something and just. No, I can't use that word. We'll just say changes it beyond recognition.
Yeah, sometimes they do. It's their thing. You know what I mean?
Anyway, what are we here for tonight?
Well, I'm just having a look at the Spirit Wind Productions. Is that your website?
.org. spiritwindproductions.org. Now, there's another person up in Canada that has the .com, but I got the .org, so that's where I am. Is that what you're looking at? It's got a pinto horse at the top of it. You know, a brown and white horse running across.
Yeah, that's right.
Mountain.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, and God's Donuts featured there and so forth. Yeah, that's the website's still under continual construction, of course, but it's fairly new, so I'm still working on it and, fine-tuning it and getting it to a place where I really want it to be. It's not quite there yet, but it's good enough for the moment,
Yeah, it certainly does what it's supposed to do anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to tell us a bit about what you actually do at the moment, spiritually?
Okay, well, I'm kind of a vehicle, a gateway. You know, I call myself like a spirit assistant. And that's kind of how I see myself, as just in assistance, in service to the divine heart in each person that lives. You know, that's kind of how I see myself. Now, I'm just a human being that's, you know, been blessed enough to have some very divine experience and has been rekindled and brought up to speed in many ways in matters of spirit and heart and earth. And I'm very connected with Mother Earth. I would call myself a part of her suns, you know, S-U-N, as the thing that shines in the sky. Something along those lines. That's the media I represent inside of myself, you know, as my particular part of this paradigm here. But that's basically what I do. I'm very able to help people, and right now my calling is, you know, to help spread the energy, the life, the love of what we call planetary ascension. Mm-hmm. That's been my focus for many years, of course, but particularly in the last year and a half or so, I've been caused to focus on that pretty exclusively. You know, I still do a few personal readings here and there, not very many, but just one here and there. If somebody's in trouble, they need some help, I'll help them out. But my main focus now is just conveying the story, the energy, the life of planetary ascension. And so, you know, I'm part of that crew. You know, I'm kind of like their spokesperson in many ways. You know, when I say they, I'm speaking of our star family as well as the angelic realms, which to me are one and the same. Mm-hmm. There's no division, but I see human beings as each person here is truthfully an angelic being in personal presence as a human being. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I see our existence as. You know, yourself included. Of course, some people are here as a part of the greater effort to help humanity as a part of humanity bring itself back again. And so, you know, we were birthed into this thing right from the beginning of this little experiment, and we've been here since the beginning. That's what I call the essential family of humanity. You know, it's perhaps a dozen or so beings, and I don't know who they all are. I know they're all here. But that's the crew that is primary in the effort here at Planetary Ascension. Of course, there's a gazillion substrata operations going on, so it's like, you know, who knows. But that's where I kind of see myself, as just personable kind of guy. I've been, all of my life, I look back now, I can see I was trained into this position every minute that I have lived since I hit the mattress as a tiny baby. You know, I've been basically trained into this. It's been a ruggedy life. You know, I've written a little bit of it and put it in a book called The Atomic Bum, B-U-M. What it means is hobo, or it could be the thing that you sit on too, but or it could be a donkey chewing in the fields, you know. But anyway, it's like, that's what it's called, the Atomic B-U-M, and it's about the little cosmic. It's about what led up to the little cosmic explosion we're undergoing now. You know what I mean? And about to undergo. Oh, dog, you took my headphones off. Excuse you. You didn't mean to. It's all right. My doggy got tangled in my headphones. There, I got him back. He's just sitting here in my lap, relaxing and having a good time, my little boy. Oakley, or Okie as we call him. Huh, he's a good boy.
Sure.
So,
but that's where I am, yeah.
Okay. So where can people find you?
My primary place is Facebook and YouTube, you know. Mm-hmm. I've got a channel on YouTube. It's just listed under Peter.Koyote. That's my primary means of conveyance. And then, of course, on Facebook, we're always going through all kinds of different aspects of it. So I've got a lot of friends there. And that's a good place to connect with me, too, because I spend a lot of time there. And we have a lot of fun, too. It's not all serious business. In fact, most of the time, it's coyote biting on his tongue in his cheek once again.
So, can I ask how you got the name Coyote?
Well, it's obviously a spirit thing. It came from one of my great-grandmothers, who was a member of a coyote clan. In this lifetime, it's kind of a mystical gift that came to me as I was getting up there in years. But I've always been that. I was kind of inducted into the coyote clan up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, one night when I got stuck with a couple of buddies out in the middle of nowhere out there, and the coyotes came and kept us protected all night long and sang to us, and helped us feel better about our little plot in life, you know. Ever since then, well, of course I had that energy before that, but that was kind of symbolically putting me into the coyote clan in a very mystical way, you know, as a young man. And of course, I've always had these mystical inclinations. I was born into the hippie generation. I was an idealist. I was never a great leader in the hippie movement, but, you know, I did my part, and I always have and always will. I still believe in it. I think that peace, love, and rock and roll is the way to go, and a little bit of marijuana to help you along don't hurt a thing. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I've been most all of my life, you know. I didn't discover, marijuana discovered me when I was like, maybe 19, 20 years old. That, you know, it opened my eyes, it opened my heart. It helped me see, you know. Not everybody has those kind of experiences with it, but for me it was very instrumental in getting me to where I am today. It's part of what allowed me. See, I've received some real serious traumas as a child. And I was raised in a real uptight and brainwashed society where most everybody didn't dare at the time question the status quo, just maintain it, you know. So I was born with a whole set of circumstances laid out that I was going to have to live. I was going to have to fit into this little role and just be what they wanted me to be. And somehow that just ran contrary to my nature. So I had a real difficult time with all of that as a child. And, you know, of course my growing up years were all about processing that kind of stuff and getting it through, but also I was in this insatiable search for truth, you know, and for reality and for caring and sharing kind of people in this world. And, you know, I've run across a lot of them in my lifetime, you know, and I've always been about the gathering of the people. Since I was 5 years old and promoted my first little kid circus, I've been doing these kind of things, bringing people together for the purposes of sharing the heart. We don't always call it that, but that's what it boils down to, you know. So I've been trained, I really have, throughout every experience I've had in this life. I look at it now and I'm amazed at the brilliance in all of the movement that's been placed in my life, all of the little obstacles that help me get this way or help me move that way or go this way, that. And still to this day I deal with my human frailties, but I'm doing a much better job of it than I have before, and every day that goes by is another step in the right direction. And this is what I'm here to share with people, is this personal thing, which is where planetary ascension is. You don't work in the system out there. You don't work in the politics. You don't work in the religion. You don't work in any of the power structures. You stay outside of those. You work inside of yourself, and therefore the power structures crumble and fall. They dissolve away and are replaced by more natural means of regulation. In other words, we eventually, and it won't take long really, fall into the divine harmony, and each of us sings our part, and we're just fine with that. That's where we're headed. That's the thing I've come here to bring. I was born with it inside. It was like a little tiny seed. Finally, it's got the proper everything now, and it's starting to hatch out. So I'm becoming the person that I truthfully am, and in so doing, I'm opening the door for many others. That's how it works. That's kind of what we're up to here. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All I need to know is when. Go on, give me a date.
God, I'd love to give you a date.
Well,
man.
actually, they have been... There is a date for Ascension that has been put out there, which is the 27th of September 2014.
Oh, next year.
Yeah, well, that's as good as December 21, 2012.
Yeah, exactly. We've had several dates, so, I guess it's just sit back, wait and see. Although ascension is although we're sort of ascending individually and as soul groups, and planetary ascension, I don't feel that we're all doing this at the same rate.
No, we're not. But those of us that open the doors and get to the finish line first, we don't step across it. We turn around and create the magnetism that draws everybody else into it. Mm-hmm. Everybody, and I've been promised this since I was a tiny child too, everybody crosses the finish line at the same time, everyone together. Because that's just how it works anyway. The rest of it's all illusion and practice,
Yep. What are your thoughts on? There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of information out there, all very contradictive of each other. What are your thoughts on whether everybody will go through the ascension process? Because there are people saying that there's certain people that won't ascend. People will choose to stay behind. They want the 3D lifestyle still. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think people that talk that way really understand humanity nor their heart just yet. I know they're moving in that direction and they've got elements, but perhaps they have some reason for thinking in terms like that. But the way I see humanity is as a single collective whole. Mm-hmm. And each one of us is functioning as a part of that collective whole. And we live in this illusion where we're isolated and separate, and we have this idea that we're the shit and nobody else is. And everything that happens to me is all that counts. Not anything that happens to anybody else, tough garbanzos. I mean, I'm speaking in very general terms here, but that's where folks have been isolated, and it's part of our programming. You see, human beings quite some time ago were rearranged thoroughly inside, physically as well as spiritually and emotionally, and we were rearranged to avoid our consciousness so that we could not see it, so that it remained inside of us as kind of a dormant thing, just like the 90% of our brain they say we don't use. It's kind of like that. But at the same time, there comes a time when the experience here is fulfilled, and everyone then can step back into what they truthfully are, which is a part of the collective, a very beautiful person. It's kind of like the individuality you find in snowflakes, Yep. It's kind of like that. Each of us has our own little design and pattern, our own little function inside of the greater body. But everything we're doing is as a part of that collective. These things, we seem to make these little choices, minute to minute, moment to moment, and it's like it's just us, this single little identity, making these choices. But it's the collective working through you constantly. You don't make personal choices. Then, the personal choice is a choice of the collective, and it doesn't matter which way you've gone, or what it's caused you to be or become, or what you've known about yourself or haven't known. It really doesn't matter. But it's also a matter of consciousness, and I can see why people would think that, because we have been so strongly ingrained with the idea of the individual personality and this little body that we carry it in, Yep. But that's just an anchoring point. It's not the entire container. The vessel surrounds us. Nobody sees it. Some people see auric fields, but nobody knows what's really here. As your eyes open and you see what's truthfully here, not just you, but all around you, and every being that is, including the animals and the birds and the trees and so forth, it's phenomenal. And there is no way you can avoid being in love with all of that life, because that's the life we've created to entertain and experience ourselves in. I mean, we do everything as a collective because that's the nature of life. The individual person is greatly appreciated, highly honored. It's a personality. It's what you are. It's your aspect of the greater whole. but it's not so independent of everything as it may seem to be, just because of the effect on the collective, because everything you do affects everybody else. You can, the little drop, the little pebble in the pond kind of thing, the ripples go everywhere. Everything you do touches everyone else. Everything they do touches you. I live in a state where quite often I can feel the entirety of humanity, this earth. I can feel everything that's going on here, the culminating effects of it, the outcomes, the energetic effects of it, see. So because I'm that conscious, I can live in that place, I can also affect that flow, as a person. But I'm only doing it because the collective calls for it and works through me. That's where my divine intelligence comes from. Everybody thinks I'm so filled with wisdom, and I am. I've got a lot of it. But baby, I tap into the collective, and I use the collective wisdom. That's who we are. That's what we're doing all the time anyway. So these beings that think there's going to be a great division and some people are going to stay behind, yeah, we're all going to get there at different times, but we're all getting there together just because of the nature of time. It's like, it's part of the greater illusion. There really is not this time. It really is not stretched out like this. So when one person gets there, everyone has. It's kind of the way it works. But in this illusion we call time, we'll all get there in our own time and in our own way, but when it happens fast. And then I've seen this one moment I call the tipping point, and I think we've already reached that. But once we reach that tipping point, then there comes a time where everyone on earth pretty much goes to sleep all at once, and when they awaken to an entirely different state of being than they knew before, only their memories now are that they've always lived in this state. And it seems very natural and familiar to them. There's what we would call UFOs flying around in the sky just right along with the birds and everything else. I mean, we're back to being normal and natural as the God children that we are, and it just, when that comes all at once. But that's all of us making that collective decision to cross the finish line together. We determined this way back when, before we ever even stepped into time. We knew this was what we do. We didn't know what time was. We didn't know how long it would take. We had no idea of the agony, even though we could see it and feel it on the timeline. Actually getting in there and living it is quite a different thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been quite the journey. It's taken a billion years, I've been told. It's taken us a billion years to go from the beginning to the beginning again.
Okay, well, we have to just take a break for a few minutes, so we shall be back shortly, guys.
Okay. So, 5 minutes. We'll be back.
Right.